All right, guys, it's been a year, but we are back with Around the Fire, where we discuss what fuels our fire. Today, we have one of our probably one of the longest standing members of the car club, Dustin.
Yeah.
And he's going to tell us just what's fueled his fire for, anything automotive, anything from built truck to overlanding. He's done a little bit of it all and likes to do a little bit of work on everybody else's vehicles as well.
Yeah, and then on top of that, it's not only trucks, it's been motorcycles, it's been ATVs, it's been a lot of different things. I've been in the car club since what, 2011?
Probably so, as far as like standing members go.
Yeah. The only other longer one,
Carmelo.
I was about to say is Carmelo.
Yeah.
He's the founder.
Yeah. So, and me and him started that, which we discussed that in our first episode. So you can go back and pick up on that story. But, and another kind of funny thing while we were setting up, we brought up is that me and Dustin, we were gonna, this is before Chance came along, I think. We're gonna do like a meet a member thing, and Dustin's video was the only one we ever did.
Yeah. And so if you want to reference back to just a cell phone video of that, you can, but I promise you that was like, it was shot on like an iPhone 5
in my 10 years
shop.
ago.
Yeah, it was at least 10 years ago. And I was in the dead middle of a cam swap on my 6-liter for the second rebuild on it. Yeah.
Yep.
And I was about to say, what originally started me with you was, I know we were 17 years old, and that OBS that I have, which is a 94, it's now a 94 LS swapped, full shave, dropped truck that I've got. Back then, it was just a stock black and silver 94 Silverado. And Travis rolled up to the parking lot. We were both like 17 years old, and what started the whole conversation was Travis rolled up, and like across his front glass was Hot Rod Power Tour 08. And it just kind of, I was like, man, I've never been to Power Tour. Now that, I was like, how was that, how did that all go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so me and Dad did a few legs of Power Tour when it came through Arkansas and went to Missouri. And we didn't take my car, we took one of his, but we did get an extra windshield sticker, and I wanted it put on my car just for, I don't know, it was cool back then. It was starting to take off, and it hadn't been to this part of the country, I don't think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I remember reading about it, just as a teenager and all that, just dreaming of being able to do it one day. And now it seems like almost everything as far as magazine-wise has died completely.
And that's all you could rely on was magazines to get your content, because we didn't have Facebook and stuff. I mean, Facebook was fresh, but it was not like a communal thing like it is now.
Yeah.
And I would look through like Trucking Magazine, Mini Truck Magazine, to find where shows are. And one of the first ones we went to was Slamley.
Yeah.
And I just found it, I think, in Mini Truck Magazine at the back where they listed all the shows. I was like, that's in Arkansas. That's close. Let's go. But before we get into our journeys, I guess let's start off at like what got you into trucks and like vehicles.
What got me basically into trucks and building vehicles and all that is I grew up with a hot rod pretty well family. I remember whenever I was like, I think my uncle had a shop here in town. It was called CMS. It was CMS Mechanic Service. It was Craig Mechanic Service. And I was probably 12 years old at the time whenever he really started all that, and I just begged and I begged and I begged. I was like, because at that point I was already getting hot rod subscriptions at that point. And I was like, man, Uncle Jeff, I said, let me come work with you, like period. And he was very reluctant. He was like, you know what? He said, you can sweep the shop floor.
Yeah.
So.
And how old?
I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
And I started sweeping the shop floor, and then like my very first like big job, the biggest pain in the butt in any shop was organizing a bolt bin. This dude had 2 5-gallon buckets slam full of just nothing but random bolts from like all the years, because he had started working on stuff in the 80s.
Yeah.
And and I had to hand pick every bolt out, and like he had a big organized cabinet of a bolt bin and organized all that. But I remember at like 13, me and him, he come and got me from my house in Mount Holly one morning, and he's like, boy, he said, we're going to do something, just cool today. I said, okay. I said, what's going on? And he said, you'll see it whenever you get there. There was a G-body Malibu sitting in his shop. It was a drag car, but there was like no drivetrain in it at all. And there was a bare block 350 sitting there, just bare block. Didn't have any rotating assembly or anything like that in it whenever we started. We went from no drivetrain in that car all the way to full built, running and run it down the road by the end of the day that day.
Yeah, that's some roadkill type stuff before roadkill happened.
Yeah, it was definitely a neat experience. And that sparked it. And he always had, and like what kind of got me in like building initially, you know, my first really hot rod was the OBS. And what got me into starting all that was he had two different ones back to back. The first one was a baby, and no, it wasn't even baby blue. I'd say it was like a royal blue OBS. That was just simple, dropped, clean truck. I love that truck. He ended up wrecking it. And the one that he built right after that, I ended up owning later, which was the copper and tan OBS that my grandfather had.
Yeah.
And that one really got me really
interested in building one. Old school 15 little wide 15s, right?
Yep, it was wide 15 center lines on it. It was a Ford Ranger copper on top, and it was some Chevrolet tan on the bottom. It was like from like an Astro van color.
Yeah.
But it was a clean two-tone, and that's like, honestly, that's what gave me the inspiration to do the black and silver truck, because I wanted kind of the same kind of two-tone style, but I wanted it 100% different. So that's what come up with like silver and black instead of doing something bright orange like that was.
It was definitely, well, I mean, your truck is inspired off of that styling, which is definitely like 90s, early 2000s sport truck OBS, like what you expect out of a OBS truck.
Okay.
You know? And that's all coming back now too. It's cool. Again, like, I don't know, if tastes change, and now we want what we had in high school.
Ain't no doubt. We all want what we grew up with, for sure.
Yeah, I remember whenever I first joined the club, though, I saw y'all already had it going on with the trucks. You had YouTube channel going.
Yeah.
I know Dustin's truck was ahead of its time then.
Yeah.
I know y'all were using his truck then.
It was ahead before the OBS movement took off like it has over the past 5 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. Those trucks had kind of been forgotten about because everyone wanted the newest thing, you know? So you got in it early.
Yeah, and then another thing that was hot, like really whenever I was building it too, was whenever the 68 to 70, 72 C10?
Yeah.
Those were extremely hot whenever I was first starting, because I remember there was like one patina build in Texas that was catching a lot of attention on what was that video? The Golden Reflections video.
Yeah.
There was, I know that there were several here and there that were starting to catch traction, but
it's back when we had to buy DVDs at truck shows to know what was happening in the scene. Like, as far as if something wasn't in a magazine, because like I would get magazine subscriptions for, you know, birthday or Christmas. That's what I wanted, you know, as a kid. And so you would see the progression of taste and styles changing, but you just knew about the trucks in the magazines. You didn't know what was happening in the communities.
Yeah.
And that's when you started seeing everyone selling DVDs at truck shows.
I was about to say, it was Solo Film Productions. It was
Cambered Videos.
Yeah, Cambered Video. KIK had something going on too, didn't they?
They might have.
Yeah, I can't remember who all, but it was like, no, it wasn't KIK. It was Killer Clothing or some kind of mess. But Mag Gear had a little bit of presence on YouTube at that point, but not much. But it was very, very like solely DVD based, like right there at the front.
Right. Yeah, YouTube wasn't a deal.
Yeah. YouTube didn't really even catch traction up until probably, I'd say it was like 2014 or so. And I remember that was right whenever my OBS was like really being thrown at the front of the club, because I went to LS Fest in 2014. And at that point, Holly had just released the touchscreen dash in that thing, and I was the only one at that point that had it like mounted flush in the dash to where it was fully operational. Like, that was my gauge panel, and it's still like that to this day. But
it's the original setup that now everybody is using.
Yeah, like everybody's using. Whenever I was sitting there, the vice president of Holly marketing come up to me, and he was like, "Hey man," he said, "I love the way that y'all did the interior on this truck, and I love how you presented our product." He said, "Can you put it in front of our booth?" I was like, "For real?" He's like, "Yeah, man." So I got to be on like the forefront of Holly's booth that year in 2014. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about the early shows. I know, looking back on the YouTube channel, it does feel like y'all, I mean, some of them are still our biggest viewed videos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But it was like y'all were trying to make the same kind of DVD type style.
Yeah, we just
were.
didn't know. Yeah, I was using like a handy cam because cell phones weren't good, and I didn't know anything about cameras.
Yeah,
you know?
we didn't know really anything about editing or anything at that point.
Yeah.
It was about as bare bones of YouTube as you could get.
But everybody was on the same page, though. I think even one of the cameras had the little tape in it. You know, when we first went to Slamley.
Yeah.
And I remember it was Cameron Videos or Solo Films. One of them had a booth set up, and like, you want to sell your tape, you know, because that's just more content they could have used.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, all that stuff was new back then, and I mean, me and Chance talk about it. It's like, what if we stuck with it? Where would we be?
Oh yeah.
But I mean, we get burned out and need breaks, and life happens. But
Oh yeah.
here we are, we're back.
Oh yeah.
Again for like the 5th time.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've learned to do it for fun and not just trying to chase something.
Right.
Yeah.
We want to do it now.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
And we
Because-
were chasing back then because it was new, and you just wanted to be at the forefront of it all. And there's so many people now
Oh yeah.
doing things.
And I remember back whenever y'all went to Slamley, how I wasn't even a part of the group at the point, because I remember like looking on a random Facebook post, because I remember me and you had talked that one time in the parking lot that it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I hadn't caught up with you since.
Yeah.
And I saw that Southern Custom Creations popped up on my Facebook, and I was like, what's this car club about? And I clicked on it. I remember looking through the photos of Slamley, and I was like, well, let's see what the member qualifications are. And I think at like that point, you needed 3 mods. You needed to be willing to go to a show like 100 miles away.
Yeah.
I immediately messaged Travis. I was like, yeah, dude, I'm interested. We met up at, wasn't it some random Airbnb? And it wasn't even Airbnb at that point.
Yeah.
It was the loft, like
On the square,
on
yeah.
the square.
And we're like, I was thinking, who's this old guy? Because Dustin he wasn't bald headed back then,
Yeah,
but
I
he
had
had it thin in hair.
Yeah.
And he was in his O'Reilly's shirt. He was working at O'Reilly's in Camden back then.
Yep.
He was a bigger guy, and I was a little skinny ex-cross country runner.
Yep.
And anyway, we thought there was an age gap, but there's not. I'm a month older than he is.
Oh, yeah, yeah. He's been older than me the whole time, and I've always just looked older than everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, the qualifications, and we were strict on rules, because back then it was like you had to be in a club, and
Oh, yeah.
there was like 3 other clubs in town, and everyone just wanted to be the top. So we had these stipulations that were like, you had to have 3 mods, you had to at least do 3 local shows or 1 weekend show,
Yep.
so that we knew you were serious. And we were up to like 20 members at one point.
Yeah.
Had some cool stuff,
Yeah.
but life happens, and not everybody was as dedicated to,
Yeah.
you know, they didn't have the automotive background like we have. And like your dad's had some cool stuff.
Yeah, my dad's had, let's see here, just across like the cool cars that I know that he's had. I know he's had 4 different F-body Camaros. One of them was just a cam only, like 99 SS. One of them was another cam only car, but it was a 6P Z28. The other one, the last 2 though were like really solid. One of them was a 408 stroke silver F body with a turbo 400 that was a nitrous car. And then the last one was a black. It was either a 2000 or a 2001, and it had a stroke 408 in it as well, but it had 102 millimeter turbos hanging off the front of it, and it was making like 1400 horse.
Yeah,
That
there's
thing
some bad
was-
stuff.
Yeah, it was. I remember going down the track in that thing with him, and at that point I was 100 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there like 370 pounds. He's sitting in the driver's seat. We're both helmeted up, and we run like a 520 in the 8th mile at like 130 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That car was bad. But to kind of, I was about to say, to kind of redact back to like our early moments, dude, I remember the first like real show that qualified me as a member. We went to Sparks and Ozarks.
Yeah.
4 in 2011 because that was the first like 100 mile. It was a 100-mile show away,
Yeah.
and then it was a weekend away.
Right.
Yeah, and I remember us, it was just a good environment. We all camped together, and that's when, Travis over here spooned me one night.
Yeah. It got a little chilly.
Yeah, because
And-
we woke up and there was ice on the banks of the
We
river.
were freshly 21.
Yeah,
Our buddy Parker had some wine
yep,
that he'd made. Sparks was a party back then.
Yeah, a
like
big one.
full blown. You're camping at this resort, and it's just a bunch of partying mini truckers back then.
yep.
But we had a good time. We had a good sized group.
Yeah, Russell Warren.
had the T-Bird out that was bagged, and getting shot for photo shoot stuff there by the water, and then Parker had his truck, and it was at that time, was it still silver?
It was silver, and it was bagged on 26s because I remember that's when we shut down that little bitty highway right up underneath that cliff shot that he got, and that was
Lee took that picture.
Yeah, we had like 6 people shutting down this road and like made everybody and their mama mad for like I know it was a good quarter mile on each side just trying to get that one shot.
Because we were standing on both ends blocking traffic so that Lee could get the perfect shot. And I think they had it hanging up in their shop, Diamond Designs, at the time. But, you know, this is pre-Facebook taking off big, so Lee was heavy in the forums.
Oh, yeah.
Sharing the full build of Parker's truck and everything, and that picture, like, just blew up.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And with that, it kind of helped us get out there too by association, you know.
Yeah, because if I'm remembering right, it was when GM full size forum was still like big.
Yeah.
And I remember it getting plastered, and then there was like a huge like 200. I was like a 200 comment thread off of it.
Yeah.
After that, because nobody has seen one that new of a body bagged at that point. Not as well.
There were there were like 5 or something, but not one as overall as clean as that.
Yep.
But yeah, so we were up there, and if you don't know, Sparks and the Ozarks is in Noel, Missouri, just about an hour north of Fayetteville, Arkansas. And it's at a little resort on a river. It's cool because they have cabins and you can tent camp, and we thought, okay, yeah, we'll tent camp because that's all that was really offered, you know?
Oh, yeah. That's all we thought we could afford up until that second night.
Yeah. So we woke up, or I woke up in the tent, and I was like, where'd Dustin go?
Yeah.
And dude was asleep in his single cab truck, and he was a bigger guy then.
Yeah.
And has a console in his truck, not even a bench seat.
Yeah.
So dude's having to sleep upright in a single cab truck.
Yeah.
No reclining seat.
Yeah, I remember waking up in the dead middle of the night. I was so cold. I couldn't feel my nose or anything. I jumped in the truck and I cranked it up. I threw the heat on just as hot as it could. And about the time that I beat a sweat, I killed the truck and I slept the rest of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was terrible.
The river was froze over that morning. It was tough.
Yeah.
Needless to say, we got a cabin that night.
Yeah.
Like some wine and cuddling with your boy.
That's right.
That
Yeah.
was it.
I was Big Spoon apparently.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't remember much of that either.
It was good times though. And going through the tunnel.
Yeah.
When you're, it's on the Arkansas side.
Yeah, it's on the Arkansas side because that's right south of Fayetteville.
Yeah. Everybody just, Parker and Russell were dragging, throwing sparks, and we were just dropping our stuff into neutral, just
just red
surprised nothing blew up.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we were definitely bouncing the limiter.
Yeah.
That was good times.
Yep. And then we got I remember the other thing about that trip is we got all the way back to, what was that little podunk town? It was
near Conway.
It was Pluckett. It was either Pluckett or Punkett or something. I think it was Pluckett is what the name of that town was whenever Russell's T-Bird gave up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And left it at a post office.
Yep. Pottsville. That's what it was. It was Pottsville. Yeah.
But yeah, we left it at a post office overnight.
Right at the edge of Conway. And they had to beeline up there the next morning and go get it. And they hauled it back. They had like an 18-foot car hauler, and they hauled that T-Bird back with a Dodge Dakota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Load.
It's just funny looking back to things we thought were so cool then, or the things we'd argue with.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when I first joined the club, it was like everybody had an ego about their vehicle. And probably none of us really had a vehicle, which, I mean, knew I didn't have a vehicle worth arguing about, but probably none of us had a vehicle worth having such an ego.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, as
not
far
at all.
as South Arkansas goes, you know, I mean, we had it going for South Arkansas,
Yeah, we
but
had some cool stuff, but
going, I mean, by today's standards, so much has changed.
oh yeah,
You were cool for a small town.
yeah, that was it. Yeah. We were cool for the area, but you sit there and you look back at like the grand scheme of things, and you like go to huge shows like Good Guys and all that. I was like, we couldn't even remotely touch
No.
half of what was out there.
But it's fun to watch some of those old YouTube videos, or I've got the DVDs.
Yeah.
But like going to Turkey Drag, which me and you did right after you got the truck
Right
tuned.
after I got it LS swapped and tuned out. It was
and that was a tough that was not a good weekend for tuning because it was freezing.
Oh yeah, it was freezing cold, and I was about to say the other thing is, I remember like I was, that Holley touchscreen was like fairly fresh at that point, and I had a bug issue I had a debug issue like right there at the end of that weekend. I remember us driving all the way back from Tyler, Texas in the blind, like no gauges, because it had bugged out so bad that like if you did the touchscreen, it looked like a Windows probably XP like computer touchscreen. And it bugged just to the home screen. So I'm just sitting here looking at a Windows home screen all the way back from Tyler. I was like, you smell coolant? No, I guess we're still good.
Yeah. It was just me and him just winging it.
Yeah. Stayed at a Roach Motel of a Super 8 too.
Yeah.
Because I was back in the early days and we really did not hardly spend money at all.
No,
like, really.
We didn't. Whatever was cheapest was the best.
Yeah, that was it.
Like we would pack in like 12 guys to a 2-bedroom,
Oh, yeah.
But we'd get a suite that had a pull out. But I mean, when it was just us, we would get a 2-queen room. But like we were budgeting for sure.
Oh yeah, there ain't no doubt. We would sit there and like knit. I know that we would split across a $80 room between like 12 people. It'd be like $5 a piece. It was wild.
All our money went to our vehicles and nothing was saved.
Yeah, that is no doubt.
Yeah. So I want to hear about this truck you've been building longer than most people's marriages. Tell me from the beginning to now where we're at.
Okay.
Of the truck we hadn't seen in years.
94 Chevrolet Silverado 1500, originally sold by Arnold Baker Chevrolet. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Originally, it's been a local truck its whole life. The original owner of it is a lady named Ginger. It was Ginger Martin. I guess it's Ginger Crook now. They're big in the drag racing scene up there in Benton. Yeah. If you ever heard of Crook Racing or anything like that up there in Benton, they're huge up there. Well, anyways, that truck, it went from her to a guy named Will Triplett Sr. in Emerson, which is just right, maybe 10 minutes down the road from right here. And then, it lived its life from I know it was a good 10 years right there in between Emerson and Magnolia. And then my cousin ended up with it, and my dad got it on like kind of a backwards kind of a trade deal because my cousin wanted my dad's Tacoma like super bad. So my dad told him, was like, look, you give me that truck plus $5,000 cash, and he said you can have this Tacoma, because at that point it was like 2006, something like that, and my dad had a 99 at that time. And anyways, they did that whole swap. My dad ended up with it, and he drove it for like 2 years, and he was driving it from my house to a sawmill in Mount Holly, which is less than a mile a day. And the whole time that he had it, I was begging for it because I love single cab OBS trucks. And anyways, at that point, I had a 98 Blazer at that point that was actually, I wish I had pictures of it, but I've been dying to dig for them, but I couldn't find them. But it had a cowl hood, billet, or like Phantom style billet grill, Boss 18s and stuff like that on it. I was like a 17-year-old kid. I was something.
Those Boss wheels were the
back
then.
Yeah. I had a Kicker L715 that hit so hard it would flex the roof skin. Like, there's a buddy of ours, Kent Waller, that we used to hang out with a bunch from Emerson, that had a built C10 back then. But he, as a joke one time, he put a quarter on top of on the top of the roof of it, and it would sit there and it would bounce and flip that quarter like that much. That thing had that much roof flex. Anyways, long story short, my dad had a buddy of his that wanted my Blazer bad, and that dude had a 91 OBS 4-wheel drive. And my dad said, look, I'll swap you my son's Blazer straight across for that 4-wheel drive, and I'll give my son that black truck. So I've had it ever since, and I was 17 years old whenever I got that truck. So it's been for me from 17 to now. I'm 34, and I didn't have no money really to modify it back then. I had like clear headlights and just a sound system at that point, and I was finishing up high school. And immediately what I spent my graduation money on in high school, looking back now, was stupid, but I put the first paint job on that truck, and that's when the black and silver first come. I put the SS hood on it then, black and silver paint job. It had a set of cheap 20-inch Panther wheels on it, and I kept it at stock ride height and all that. It just had like a 2-inch drop shackle on the back, but I swapped it from a Chevrolet front end to a GMC front end, and it had a billet grill and stuff like that, and I've done a little bitty stuff. And right whenever I finished up college, I finally landed a decent job, and whenever I did, I sure enough went all in at that point. That's when I did a 4.6 drop kit. I remember doing that in my dad's shop myself. I did a 4.6 drop kit. I pulled the bed off, and I put it all to a guy's shop, and they shaved the bed, they shaved doors, they shaved the bed caps, third brake light. It was basically everything but mirrors is what we done. And then at that point, and we shaved the roll pan in and stuff too, but that's kind of a two-part deal with that. Anyways, and I did a LS swap on it. I put a 6-liter out of a 2004 Escalade in it that was a Q9, and I had 241 heads on it, like some random Lunati cam at that point. 3-inch exhaust all the way out, Yukon gear and axle posi track, built turbo 350 transmission to a stage 5. I went like absolutely all in, and then a buddy of ours, Lee King, whenever he was still down here with Diamond Designs, in between him and Russell, like fully built my interior. But I got to give credit where credit is due, because my door panels were hand designed, hand built, and my center console all by Lee King. He did all that by himself, and it's still like holding the test of time today.
And that was before you had companies like TMI, where everything was, and it's clean styling, like you would see a TMI door panel you could order today.
Yeah.
You know, so it was kind of ahead of its time, and you had seats out of a Malibu.
Yeah, I have a 2010 Malibu.
Yeah.
Because I remember me and you, like, that was whenever our friendship was really starting to take off, and I was helping like deliver cars for Arnold Baker on the side on my off days from the chemical plant. And I remember driving a Malibu back, and at that point it was like a brand new 11 model.
Yeah.
I remember driving it back, I was like, you know what, these seats are comfortable.
And they were kind of sporty looking enough for the time.
Yeah. So I went to a wrecking yard in Alma, Arkansas, like 2 weeks later, and bought one out of a freshly wrecked like 2010 model. And then got them recovered with cat skins. And I bought like a cat skin at that point. Russell and Lee were like fresh dealers for it. So I bought the full interior of the car for like, I think it was $600, just material cost.
Yeah,
and
it's like $1,200 today, at least, like base.
Yeah, like base model.
Crazy.
And then they took pieces of the rest of the interior of that car and like rolled in that same leather on my center console handle, some of my handles on my door panels, and then it was like little bitty accent pieces here and there for like the rest of the car, then plus just recovering the seats.
And staying on the interior thing and all that, like in the leather, Lee took pieces of MDF and stainless and carved out by hand the door handles. Like they're not bought, but now you can buy street rod style smooth door handles that look the same.
Yeah, he built all that stuff hand built before it was cool to build. Now you can order pretty much all of it on the catalog.
Yeah.
It
looks manufactured stuff, you know, before it was.
Yeah, I was about to say, if he would have had the mind or the business mind, or any of us would back then, we would have took photos of that and tried to prototype it and like try to sell it.
Yeah.
And I was about to say, and on the sound system of that thing, it's got 2 Super Tweets in the dash. They were Pioneer D series, like the high end stuff back in the time. It's got 2 6 3/4 mids in the doors, and if you look at the doors, it just looks like one solid speaker cone, because that's the way he built the cone into the panel and all that. And then there's 2 JL Audio 8s inside the center console, and if you flip up the lid, you don't see nothing. It looks like just a regular old compartment. Everything is completely hidden to where it looks like you pop open like a factory looking stylish truck. You wouldn't expect a sound system in and all, and that thing, it bumps for what
2
it
8s
is.
hit. Yeah, that audio setup changed my mind as far as like you don't need 2 12s or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
you don't need.
It was it's very clean, but still you can hear the bass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think of what all else.
The door panels, the speakers are behind the carpet, right?
Yes.
That's one of those trick things. Like I'm not, and you had like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Speakers like 6x9s or something mounted in the door panel where you can see the speaker. But what Lee did was cut out like a template or whatever for the speaker to come through, and then an overlay of the carpet. Well, the speakers are hidden behind this carpet. You'd never know that there are speakers in the door.
Yeah, you never knew it at all. There was a template right there, of course, where it looked like it was only one speaker too, so it would look like it was a factory cutout.
Right.
But there was actually 2 mid speakers behind each door.
Yeah.
So you would never guess that the sound that it produces would come out of any of that. It was a very neat setup for its time.
It looked, I don't know, I say manufactured, you know, as far as like, and that's kind of, we have a related style of that. Like we like custom, but we like it to look like if the factory was to build it as a concept,
Yeah, that's exactly right. That
clean.
that was a whole deal that I wanted with the truck. I wanted the little bitty pieces of it that, like, at that time point, billet was hot. Billet was bad hot.
Yeah.
So I had a billet specialty steering wheel, the only billet anything I've ever bought in my life. Yeah, and then also and that was like tying in kind of the modernness of that time point,
Yeah.
because it was like
It was a
2011,
hot thing.
2012. But then I also mounted in a Hirsch floor shifter in the floor because I always loved the old schoolness of Hirsch from like back in the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, so I always tried to blend like modern and it was like modern and old at the same time.
It's a sport truck, but it takes that hot rodness of your dad and, you know, uncle and everything, and ties all that together.
Yep, that's right.
So what's going on with it now?
It's collecting dust right now. It about 2 years ago, I went to go pick up my son at school, and he says that I cursed. He's my curse, and which is completely not true. My son's awesome. He's a very, very good kid. But but I went to go pick him up at school. The first time I went to go pick him up at school, like, I've never ran out of gas in my life. Never. That truck does not have a functional gas gauge on it at all. So I get like 5 miles outside of Mount Holly, it falls on its face. And I was like, what the heck is going on? So I pop the hood and all that. It's just cranking over, and I just so happened to look at my fuel pressure regulator. It's sitting at 0. I was like, well, yep, cracked it, sure enough, out of gas. So it got gas, and it just went back to the house because at that point he was already on his way home anyways. Well, the next time I went, I went to my brother-in-law's shop at the time, which is Tad Taylor. He's a good like car club like guy with us. He used to build a lot of boosted stuff. I went over there to visit with him. As soon as I left his shop, I turned off the highway, about to go pick up my son at school. I'm like less than a mile from the school. I heard clunk. I was like, oh no. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And I looked down at my oil pressure. It's all digital, but it's digital and analog. So you get to see the actual pressure value plus a digital, plus like an analog readout. It goes from like 50 pounds of oil pressure to like 10 and just knock. I was like, no. I was like, I don't even have a cool story for this.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I was sending the 6 liter to the moon, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
I had to call my dad. He come in with my car hauler and come pick me up. We loaded up on the side of the road, went and got my son out of school and all that, and it's been kind of sitting up in limbo ever since. In the time that it's been in limbo, though, I'd acquired 2 6 liters off of a friend of mine. I ended up selling one of them, and I built the other one to a 416 stroker. So it's got a Texas Speed bottom end, Texas Speed PRC heads that are custom ground it's basically to their F35 cam and the 416 bottom end. It's got a Holly High Ram intake, Motion Raceworks steam kit, Motion Raceworks Lifter Valley kit, and I'm trying to think of what all else I've done to that thing. It's a full built motor. I mean, I've got probably Lord knows I've probably got $12,000 in that build. And it's been sitting in the corner for like a year because it seems like every time I turn around that I'm about to start on it, you always got the good buddies that want you to work on their stuff, and I'm turning right around and I'm working on theirs when I've been keeping mine on the back burner. But in the process of all that, I've been building a new shop and I'm about to move. So before I lose my workspace, that truck's probably, I would say by the end of the year, I hope it's going to be running. You know,
Yeah.
That's a realistic goal for me.
Yeah.
I just like that you've had it so long, and most people don't keep a vehicle that long, but even after that long and it craps out on you, you were still like, you know, I'm just gonna wait and find another motor and keep going with it.
Oh yeah.
Didn't give up on it and decided to just make it better instead.
Oh yeah, at this point, because honestly, if I'd have had the money like 12 years ago, whenever I originally did the LS swap, I'd have probably did a full build out motor and all that then. But at that point, man, I was fresh out of college, just got married. I was about to have my first kid, you know, so it was all life happening all at once. And on top of that, I was being an idiot and building a truck at the same time, you know.
Yeah.
And so basically by that point, it was like, you know what, I got to stop, because if not, I'm about to just break my family's financial budget on this thing.
Yeah.
Because you can spend as much money as you want to on a build. But at that point, I had to make the better decision, just like cap it right there. But it's something that I always want to do. I always want to punch out one of those stock 6.0s as far as I could. And 416, you could go further if you wanted to really re-sleeve, but 416 is really your max limit. Because my dad had did two 408s at that point. I did not want to follow what he done, just because I didn't want to, oh, well, your daddy did it,
Yeah, copy paste.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to go kind of my own way, and that's what kind of made me do that instead of just a general LS 408. Plus, I don't plan on adding a power adder. Everybody and their mama at this point has got turboed, supercharged, and all that stuff. And if I ever do a power adder, I always wanted like a root style blower, and if that's going to come way later, if that at that point. But that'll be like my long term goal is a 871 hanging out of the hood.
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted that style. Because I love traditional hot rods.
Yeah. And that's what you're building at the end of the day. It's not a drag truck, and it's just hot rod. It's something fun, makes some noise. When you want to get out on the highway and gas on it, you've got it there.
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
It's cool picking the kids up.
It look cool picking the kids up, and if you want to make one big, long, funny car burnout, do it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the most fun that I've ever had in that thing, was just stupid burnouts.
Yeah. So I think we can kick back now. And Dustin, this is almost the reason Dustin wanted to do the podcast. We have heard many a great tale of this trip to California. So let's start it out. Tell us what you made the trip to California in, and what the goal was there, and then lead us into the trip.
To start the trip to California, we're going to track back just a little bit, because it was 2000. I made that trip to California in 23. It was 2021. I had a friend of mine that wanted me to engine swap a F-150 for him. He got it just like on a cheap deal. I think that truck had like 300-some thousand miles on it. To me, I'd have gave up on it before I even got it. This truck was rough. He kept wanting me to do an engine swap, kept wanting me. I was like, you know what, you find the motor. And I said, we'll talk about labor later on. That Fat Boy that I had, that I had then built past that. But that Fat Boy,
talking about a motorcycle.
Yeah, it was a 2000.
Not a fat child.
Yeah, it was a 2006 Harley Fat Boy, and that thing had like sit on his front porch for like 12 years. And I saw it one day whenever I was over there. I was like, what are you going to do with that thing? He's like, man, it still just kind of cranks and runs. He said, I have any interest in riding. So it only had like 2,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
And anyways, I did the engine swap on that F-150, and he was like, well, he said, my labor bill's coming. He said, what do you want? I said, I want that motorcycle on your front porch. He said, it's not for sale. I said, I don't think you understand. I said, I want that motorcycle on your front porch. And he said, well, I don't know if I want to get rid of it. I said, well, it's either that or you're going to hand me $5,000 cash, because I had to pull the cab off that truck and do a lot of power washing to get that motor out.
Yeah.
Dude, I bet you I raked out mud that thick out of my shop that come off of that truck to get all that drivetrain out. And he sat on it for like a day, and then he called me the next day. He said, come get this motorcycle, title sitting in your name. So I did that, and like whenever I first got it, the chrome was rough. I mean, Harleys, you can really hand polish them out, and I hand polished out what I could, but there was some stuff that was even showing like pit rust there.
Right.
So I'd done that, and I was just like, well, I'll sit on it for a little bit. I was just really just going to sit on it for just a little bit and build it later. Well, me and Lupe, one of our car club members at that point, we were out there working on somebody's Buick at my shop, and all of a sudden I heard crash. I look over, that Fat Boy sitting on its side. I was like, I sat there and I thought, and I was like, you know what? It's now or never. And so I called another friend of mine, Kelly Mello, and he helped me out tremendously with that thing. We tore that bike all the way down to a backbone and went all the way back up. We put a new gas tank on it, resealed everything, went with new primary setup on the in between a Harley. You got motor and transmission in between. That's a primary set. That's basically it's two cogs and chains, and it drives the motor and transmission power in between each other. So we went in between all that. We serviced transmission, all that stuff. It was basically about as new as you could get as far as a 06 model bike. Did belt, tires, new suspension front and rear, everything. I'd had it in my mind at that point. I was like, this is going to be the bike that I ride to the PCH on. Never thought that it was really just going to actually happen. Well, about a year later, I took it to Hot Springs. It leaves me on the side of the road in Hot Springs. One of the sets on the primary come loose, because I was just riding it just to make sure that everything was just okay with it. After I put that primary set back together, I was like, you know what, I got 2 months, and I had a bunch of vacation time at work that I needed to burn. I said, this August, I'm going.
Yeah.
And I called a buddy of mine up named Dave Brown. He's a guy from Fort Smith. Travis may have met him at one point because we had went to Slamley together.
Yeah, I think once.
Yeah. And called him up, and he was all in on it because he has a KTM 690 Enduro. And so called him up, like, I think it was somewhere like, it was the second week of August of that year in 23. And called him up. We was full on about ready to go. He leaves a day earlier than I do. So he's out camping somewhere in Texas. I stayed back for just that day because my grandmother had turned 80.
Yeah.
So I stayed for her little 80th birthday party, and then I rode to Fort Smith that evening. I had another friend of mine that I worked with at the co-op, and anyways, I stayed with him that night. The next morning, I started out on the journey. Dave had already made it like to some state park in Texas at that point, and anyways, get through. I leave out that first morning at Fort Smith, and this is when I knew the trip was going to be something, because I get like 5 minutes outside of where Caleb, my other friend, had lived that I stayed the night with, and it just comes an absolute downpour on me. And that downpour lasted from Fort Smith all the way to Oklahoma City, and I mean the other side of Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
So by the time it just really starts getting into flat prairie land, dude, I'm drenched.
Yeah.
And I stop at a gas station, kind of ring everything that I got out on in the gas station bathroom. They had to been pissed at me.
Yeah.
Had to been.
Yeah.
And anyways, I called Dave, catch up with him, and he says, "Man, I'm having just a little bit of issues." He said, "I'm gonna send you a pin to where I want you to meet me at." I said, "Okay." So he drops me a pin. It's at some random bolt store in Amarillo, Texas. So I was like, "Okay, yeah, nothing, no big deal."
Amarillo by morning.
Yeah. And I get over to Amarillo, and it's right before lunchtime, and I pull up to this bolt place, and I beat Dave there. I was like, something's bad wrong. Dave comes pulling up on that KTM, and it's like, bah, 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 bah. Oh. I was like, well, what's going on? He said, man, my kickstand safety switch is like going out. And there was like one bolt holding this kickstand on at that point. So so I cannot remember the name of the bolt place in my life, or I'd give them a shout out. But then people, it was like an industrial bolt store, so they had like tons of everything. They just give us the bolts to bolt his kickstand back together. So we bolted it back together, and the bike's like still kind of falling on its face here and there. We added the big Tex, and we left from there, and we're going to New Mexico. We'd already booked an Airbnb for that evening. And, you know, I think it was like it was right outside of Albuquerque, so that's like, I don't know, a 6-hour ride, something like that. And we make it all the way to New Mexico. The bike still, it's like keeping up, but it's like, it's stalling every now and again. Mine's like doing great.
Yeah.
And anyways, we get not even 30 minutes for our Airbnb, and his bike just falls flat on its face to where it's like we're going 10 miles an hour up the side of this mountain on the interstate. And it's like, it's all they can do, and it finally just dies. We're not but 30 minutes away. We're staying at somebody's guest house at their ranch. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm going to ride up there, just see if they got a trailer or something they can come back and they can get your bike. So I pull up, and I'm in the middle of New Mexico, so, you know, I'm sitting here thinking I'm about to deal with some rancher or something like that. This old couple had done retired from Minnesota, and they had retired in New Mexico, and they were the sweetest couple you could have met in your life. I pulled up, and I'm giving them a full story on, you know, about Dave being broke down back 30 minutes away and all that, and old man just looks, he said, you know, son, we're about, you know, I done had about 6 beers this evening. The truck's around back with the horse trailer. Go get it. I was like, dude, you don't know me from Adam.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, but you got good reviews. And he said, you just called me sir like 6 times in the same sentence. You're all right. So I beeline back with with this dude's truck and the horse trailer. We loaded up in the back of like a double bunk horse trailer.
Yeah.
You ever try to stick a dirt bike in a horse trailer?
Probably tight.
Yeah, you had to sit there and angle it like just right, and it was filling up the entire trailer because we had camping gear and everything loaded down on this thing. Mm-hmm. And so we go up like we get him back, go up the next morning to Albuquerque, go to like 2 or 3 different shops there in Albuquerque, and ended up at this off-road shop that finally took his bike in, and we swapped the fuel pump and all that stuff, and it just wasn't working out. And I guess it was right there at that evening. Dave told me, he was like, dude, I'm going to go get a U-Haul, get this guy's truck back, because we were still using his truck at that point.
Yeah.
He said, get that guy's truck back to him. He said, I'm going to get a U-Haul. And he said, if I can't get this thing fixed by tomorrow, he said, you just keep on going. I was like, dude, I'm not going to ride like by myself, out here. He's like, no. He said, you plan this trip. He said, you go on. He said, if I'm not fixed by lunch or something, he said, I'm about to U-Haul it back to Arkansas. So I said, okay. So the next morning I get up and it's 5 in the morning. I catch a sunrise over one of the mesas right over the west side of Albuquerque. Sit there, take a picture of my bike. I'm gonna load you like all these pictures so you can just like thumbnail them here and there. And anyways, I break over into Arizona, and whenever I broke over into Arizona, David called me by like that point. But my like end goal of the day was I was going to go through Monument Valley before it stopped running. And then I was going to make it to St. George, Utah. By the time I hadn't even made it to probably about halfway to Monument Valley at that point, Dave called me and said the bike was running great. He said, I'm just going to meet you in California. He said the next day. So okay. So because he was going to take a more direct line where I was taking like a big offshoot.
Yeah.
I get right outside of Monument Valley in just a little bitty podunk town in Arizona that like it's called Burnside, if I'm remembering right. It was Burnside, Arizona, and I'm riding along, and there's this big black like Ultra Glide sitting on the side of the road. And dude and his wife are sitting there, and you can tell he's on the phone with whoever he was renting it from or whatever. I was talking to his wife. I said, "You got a flat?" Yes, flat. I said, "Well, I'm catching an accent. I know they're not from here."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Can I help?" And he said, "Yes, flat." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you mind if I help?" He said, "You got kit?" And he did like that with a tire plug. I was like, "Yeah, I got kit." So I get him to roll it back. I pull a nail out of his tire. I plug it. I had an air compressor. I mean, in one of my saddlebags, I had a dedicated bag with just tools, plugs, air compressor, kit. I was full on prepared for almost anything.
Yeah.
Because heck, you're 1,000 miles from the house. And this dude's like forever grateful for me like helping him out on the side of the road. And I said, man, I'm catching a hard accent. I said, where are you from? And this threw me for a loop because he said, I'm from Roma. I said, Roma. I said, Rome? Italy? He said, yeah. They had rented that Harley and was riding every national park in the United States for like the next 2 months.
Dang.
Yeah. And got to meet him, went through Monument Valley, and, stopped where Forrest Gump was at and all that stuff, took pictures of my bike. I went on into St. George, Utah that evening. I stopped at a little bitty place called Nielsen's Frozen Custard, had me some ice cream for the evening because if you ever rode like a long distance like that, you don't want to eat hardly anything.
Yeah.
So I was just giving me something just to kind of pick me up and go. Well, I'm Google Mapping. I'm trying to look at BLM land where I can camp because I had my tent and all that on the bike too. So I was going to camp that evening. So I get off on this back dirt road, and I'm probably, 5-6 miles north of St. George, and it goes from like hard packed dirt road to sand immediately. It beaches that hardly like straight up and down. It's like it's dug in on the back and the front. And I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm like, there is no buddy favor in the world that's going to get me off the side of this mountain 1,500 miles away from the house.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm just Googling like off-road recovery places. Who does everybody know in the off-road recovery world? Matt's. I called Matt's. He actually picks up the phone.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm sitting there talking to him. I'm still like bewildered to the fact that he even answers his own business number. And he's like, man, he says, send me a pin to where you're at. And he gave me a cell phone number, and I texted that pin to him. And he's sitting there looking at it, well, I guess, while I'm talking on the phone to him. And he's like, man, he said, you're in a pretty popular spot. He said, I'm going to go ahead and just dispatch somebody. But he said, but please let me know if somebody comes, just randomly comes along before they get there. 2 random dudes on a Yamaha YXZ 1000 just come running up about 5 minutes later. They helped me dig out my bike, and we pushed it out. And they gave me a place like that was hard packed pavement all the way in next to a reserve. I think it was called. It wasn't Echo, but it was some little bit of lake right there on the side of a mountain. So I camped out at the lake that night.
It's probably Zara if it wasn't Echo.
Yeah. There ain't no. I cannot remember the name of it.
That's a joke. The Chances dogs.
It would have almost been hard not to leave the motorcycle beach just to see if the vehicle rolled up from Matt's.
Oh yeah, I almost thought about that, but I was like, man, I'm gonna take the good luck while the good luck was coming.
Yeah.
So Like,
What is it, real quick? You said that when you're riding that far, you don't even really want to eat. What is it? Just like because
It's exhausting.
right?
it's absolutely exhausting.
The workout.
Yeah, it puts a whole nother strain that. It's hard to explain because like the first 2 days really and truly were the worst because your body's getting adjusted to being like that long of that much wind hitting you all the time. It's that much noise being in your ears at that time because I wore earplugs and it was still like it would still hurt your ears by the end of the day.
Wow.
And
Wouldn't even thought of that.
yeah, because because I wear a full face helmet too, so you would sit there and think that the sound would just be blocked, and it's not. It's just, and it's physically people say that riding a motorcycle really ain't that physically demanding, and in some instances it's not. It's not like I'm sitting here bombing down the Baja 1000, but it's all that wind for hours on end, and it wears you out.
To wear protective gear because
Because it was 5 years prior, I went down on a gravel road and scraped all my leg down to like rawhide and down in here, and he dang near ran me over.
yeah. We were KLR boys back then. We got our heavy pigs of the dual sport.
Yeah.
And we were riding back roads with Jackson, and he had his little Kawasaki 200 or whatever
He had
it
a
was.
KLX 230.
230, yeah. And this dude has like street tires because he was like, I'm going to travel.
Yeah.
Which he did end up traveling, just not on a KLR.
Yeah, not on a KLR. That is not a good idea to put
Me and
street tires
Jackson
on a
had
KLR.
some knobbies, like we're prepared, and it was a spot that went from asphalt to gravel, like out of nowhere, basically, just solid golf ball size rocks, slick. He slides out sideways. I'm too close behind him to react, and you don't want to react fast turning on a slick surface like that. Dustin's bike goes down. He slides off to the ditch. I have to go straight and jump over his bike. And then we're like, what do we do? Well, he had no choice but to man up and ride back home.
Yeah,
he was wearing those.
I had like some Duluth Trading Firehouse
Yeah.
pants, if I remember right, and they were half ripped off of my right leg.
Just
blood
popping his leg going down the road with some of the
and like
wind.
blood's pouring down. My steel toe boot on that one side is like nothing but the steel hanging out and all that stuff.
Yeah.
If I'd have had any less on, it'd have been terrible. It'd been bad.
It could have been bad.
Yeah. Man, my helmet had a big scrape on the back of it from where it hit the pavement.
Yeah.
And but like my jacket, gloves, everything else was perfect. You couldn't even tell that I went down. Yeah. It was wild.
So like, big on wear your safety equipment.
Yes, please wear your gear. I was wearing gear on the California trip too.
Right.
But I was about to, so we were, let's see here. I camped out at the lake that night. I had called Dave. He was somewhere in the middle of Arizona. So I'm north of him, he's south of me. Anyways, we decide we're going to meet up at Barstow the next day. The Too Fast, Too Furious is right. Barstow sucks, by the way. It is terrible. Hate it for all y'all that live there, but it sucks. But the next morning I get up, I'm riding from St. George to Vegas. Everything's going smooth and all that stuff. Rain plagues me again. And the difference in between like the rain, basically like the difference in between like the rain here, it rains and you're riding. It's no big deal here because the oils in the road and all that come out, all the time.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're riding on a big oil slick. A rain in Vegas, it only rains there once a year. So I'm riding, and then all of a sudden I feel like my bike fishing, and it's like, oh no, I back it back down. I had to ride on I-15 in Vegas, riding like 15 miles an hour through the rainstorm right by the strip and all that stuff. And anytime I would like give it anything, I mean, it's sitting there just trying to backwalk on me the whole time. So finally, about the time I hit the edge of Vegas, it dried back out, and I'm in a desert, basically from there all the way to Barstow. In between all that, I get through the California checkpoint, and I'm riding along, and I'm hauling. I'm doing like 90, 95 because I'm trying to make it to Barstow faster than Dave. It's probably stupid like self-goal or whatever. It was just me being me. Well, I come up on a group of bikers, and I'm sitting there, and there's one at the back, one at the front. There's probably 7 or 8 of them in between each other. I noticed colors. I noticed red and white. This might be a bike club that's on the opposite side of heaven. I'm not going to say their names because I don't want any of that kind of clout.
Yeah.
But I back off real quick, and I'm wearing like all black. you know, other than my pants. My pants are blue jeans. So the dude at the back sees me. He backs back off. And he goes all the way back behind me, and I'm just like sweating bullets. And he comes right up next to me, and he just points and go. And I took it immediately. I flew past him because I didn't
wanted to make sure you didn't have any colors on.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
They were dang sure checking me for colors.
By that, if you're not, you know, in the bike community or where, you know, if you're part of another club or something, it's just kind of known that you don't pass another group, like you have to be allowed to.
Yeah, like you
it's
got to
a
let them.
respect thing, especially with the like 1%ers.
Yeah, and you would have to let them know beforehand that you're about to cross in their territory and all that kind of stuff. And I don't even remotely want to be a part of that world, you know. So me, Dave, and Barstow, I go to In-N-Out Burger. He meets me there. His bike is like screwing up again. It's like falling on its face again after this off-road shop in New Mexico had fixed it. So we go to Harbor Freight because we didn't have just a couple different tools that we needed to get the injector out of the bike, because that's what was the problem was before, is there was trash on the injector.
Yeah.
So I pull the injector out, spray it out with brake clean, all that. Bike fires up, runs great. Doing just completely fine. I'm trying to remember the highway. I know it's not the 101, but it's in between Barstow and Bakersfield, California. We're heading north because our end of the day goal was we was going to make it to Monterey, California. And which Monterey to LA is a good day ride. There's no doubt about it. It's a hard day ride, but it's a good day ride. Well, we get right north of Bakersfield, and from Southern California to Bakersfield, you go from like flat desert, like Death Valley-ish, to you're starting to get in the mountains. Very pretty land. We get over this backside of this mountain, his bike just dies. It goes from like running 90 to dead like that.
KTM stuff.
Yes. So pull over on the side of the road, and we're sitting there just fishing because it cranks right back up. Nothing, no problem. Turn the handlebars, dies. So we're sitting there like chasing every bit of wiring and all that, and sitting there doing that, and all of a sudden here comes this big black. I know it had to been like old. I think it was like old ultra classic or something like that, and this dude had to been like 6'8". He had one of them German style helmets on with a little point on it.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, I was like, dude, we just got jacked. There's no doubt. And what threw me was this dude is like pasty white like Travis.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, whenever he talks, hey, Jefe, got problems? I'm like, this is the whitest, biggest Mexican I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
And
probably will be my children.
Yeah. And anyways, this dude's like super helpful. He's like, man, he said, y'all mind if I help? And I was like, nah, dude, it ain't no big deal. So we're sitting there tracing wires and all that stuff. And finally he hollers back at us. He's like, hey, found it. And it was a pigtail off the ignition coil done come off the coil like that much.
Yeah.
We pulled the wiring harness back, re-zip tied it and all that, clipped it back in. And like at that point, it's like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We're still trying to make it to Monterey, which is like 6 hours away. So we go all through wine country, Central California, flying, and it was pretty all up until the sun went down, and then it feels like you're riding black nothingness because there's no trees around, nothing like that. And by the time, I think the little town that we actually stayed in was Salinas, and by the time we made it there, I was so tired at that point that whenever we stopped, I couldn't hardly keep my bike up at stop signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was physically just drained.
And you're not on, I mean, cruising wise, it's a comfort bike, but it's still a V-twin bike. Like it's got its vibrations and stuff.
Yeah, it's got that, and then it had just bare bones of a fairing. It only had like a Memphis Shade Sport fairing on it, so it's not like I had realistically any wind protection. Right.
And then, you know, in your seating position, I don't remember exactly how you are, but you know, your weight's more on your tailbone where he's sitting more
he's sitting more upright.
So like it works better for him. It's not the plushest bike, but I would have to imagine he probably was not as exhausted as you.
I would say he was. I say he was.
But he
equal.
doesn't have any wind protection.
Yeah, I was about to say he is. What little bit I had, he didn't have at all.
Right.
And then on top of that, you know, of course, all the bike issues and all that stuff, your mental stress and all that's through the roof. So I'm sure he was not only mentally exhausted, but physically too.
Right.
And we stayed there at that Salinas, California that night, and our goal the next morning was to ride PCH, and that's after all those issues. for like 4 days in a row at that point. That was 100% worth it.
Yeah.
Because we drop into Monterey and we go from Monterey all the way, we go all the way to basically a landslide right south of Big Sur. So you get to see the Big Sur Bridge. You're riding along you got mountain on one side, straight cliff drop to just the prettiest blue water that you've ever seen in your life, all the way down to that landslide that we got to at Big Sur. Then we had to double back. And whenever we doubled back, we went through a little bitty town called Carmel, California, and we went through Carmel Valley Road, and we took back roads basically to Malibu. Okay. And if you've ever, like, everybody has heard of like California wine country and all that, of how pretty it is, 100%. It's definitely what they sell it to be.
Yeah.
Because that's some of the prettiest, curviest roads I've ever rode in my life. And so we get down to Malibu, and our goal for that evening is we're going to go to Neptune's Nest, and we eat there where the Fast and the Furious had their little bit right after Dom and Brian had raced that Ferrari on the PCH and all that. So we had a place, and stayed there that night. And poor Dave, that's all I can keep on saying is poor Dave.
Yeah,
because we're going to stay at a hotel that night, and we go to we're riding to Thousand Oaks, and I'm sitting there beelining along, and if you ever ride in California, it's, as far as like, lane splitting and all that, that is the coolest high-speed ride you can ever do in your life, because everywhere you can go 90 to 100 miles an hour, allegedly.
Yeah.
Everywhere you want to, and every car that you come up to automatically just moves over because it's written in California law that you cannot impede a motorcycle trail. Yeah. So if they impede you at all, a cop can pull them over and let you go. Because you're not supposed to legally not let you lane split. You're just that there's overlaw cars and all that. Yeah, stay on the home. Well, I'm sitting here thinking the days follow me to completely different lights behind. I pull up to a hotel and this BMW passes me. I was like, holy crap, where's Dave?
Yeah.
And anyways, call him up. He's like, man, I'll be there in a minute. 30 minutes late.
Yeah.
And anyways, he pulls up, his front tire's flat. Now, this dude done rode on a flat front tire from that restaurant all the way up to there. I was running short on vacation time. He wasn't, sir. He hung around and he rode several more days of California. That would be a whole nother episode on him because he had 2 or 3 more issues at that point that he split off with me. But
what we've learned is that friends named Dave always have bad luck.
That's their friend
Dave in the truck community from Missouri, and this Dave, and they both live probably just 2 hours from each other.
There's no doubt. Well, I get up from there at that hotel, and I decide that my brother and my sister and my brother-in-law had moved to Tucson here and hunt at this point. So I was going to be my end goal for that day. And I get up and I go to Laidlaw's Harley Davidson, and anybody in the Harley community that knows anything about Laidlaw's, they're huge on the YouTube side of it because they film all the roads, all the good local roads in between California, Arizona, Colorado, and all that. They specifically make runs and got high production equipment and all that. They show you all the good local roads that like most of your Harley guys would want to ride.
Right.
So I go and I stop at that dealership specifically because I like their content. The dudes are very level-headed dude, laid back, and they've got good ride creeps and all that. So I sit there and I shoot the crap with him for a little bit. Matt Laidlaw's a cool dude first. I leave from there and I'm going to Tucson. And LA to Tucson, which it's really LA to Phoenix first. LA to Phoenix, I don't know if you boys have ever ridden in a hairdryer, but that would be the equivalent. I've never in my life been that hot but that dry at the same time, because that's 100. It was like it averaged 110 to 120 degrees the whole way there, and I would stop about every 30 miles at the gas station. Not because I actually needed gas, but I would soak my t-shirt down in the gas station bathroom, soak my ride jacket down, and by the time I make it to the next gas station 30 miles down the road, I'll be completely dried out again and thirsty.
Yeah, it'll make you want to throw up.
Shit, yeah, it was terrible. Whenever I left from Phoenix, I went and from Phoenix to Tucson, you're going further south, of course, closer to the border, but you're going up in elevation. So you go from like 5 foot in elevation up to about 2,000 foot. So it's like, it goes from 120 to 80 degrees and no humidity. Perfect. Now I stayed the night with my sister and my brother-in-law that night, and it was a good time to catch up and all that, because being that they're 1,000 miles away from me, it's not like we get to catch up all the time. Anyways, got up the next morning, and the next morning I was going to make it all the way to Midland, Texas. That's what was my end goal. And I stopped like it might sound weird, but like one of my deals whenever I'm out like in a random back trip and all that kind of stuff, if it's a Sunday, I'm stopping at church somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it'd be just some random podunk hole in the wall place, but I'm stopping at church somewhere. It's just one of my deals. So I stop at a little church called San Simon, Arizona Baptist Church, and it felt like I was back here because it was old school gospel singing and everything.
Yeah.
A cool feat. I leave from there and I go from straight there, go to El Paso, and I go into Midland. Well, I get like 30 miles outside of Midland. Dust storm.
Oh,
I've never in my life felt like I was being sandblasted up until that point. I was like, at that, I was really concerned that like my clear coat on my Harley wasn't going to hold up, and it did, thank God.
yeah.
And by the time I got in my hotel in Midland, I jumped in the shower, and the shower floor turned black from all the dirt that come off of it.
Yeah.
It's hard to breathe in the.
It was terrible. That was probably top 5 most miserable riding experiences.
Yeah.
Then from next day, I go from there all the way back here to all the way from Midland here to South Arkansas, and this whole trip, it's like 11 days. It's 40. I think I rode. It was 4,800 miles of some change. Never had not one cop problem, not one, up until I get to Texarkana.
That was it.
Yeah, I get right inside the Arkansas side of Texarkana, and I'm running right there along to Genoa, not far from where Parker lives.
Yeah.
Go around the curve, state trooper, and I'm running like 65. I was like, yep.
Yeah.
Just as soon as he rounds around me, I saw his blue lights hit. I pull over. He's like, man, he said, why were you going so fast? I said, sir, gotta be completely honest with you. I said, I've been riding for like 4,000 miles. I said, I'm really ready to be home. And at that point, I shouldn't have done it, but I done shedded my riding jacket because I was just that hot, that tired, and all that. So I'm like, I'm tan at that point. You can tell I'm sunburned from heck and all that. And he's looking me over, and he's like, he just hands me my license back, doesn't even run. He was like, going home.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely like a trip of the lifetime for sure. You know, I would do it all over again in different points, but you know, it was dang sure worth all the stories that I got along the way of that California trip.
Oh, I still went from just low to high to low to high to low to high. You got to help somebody, you needed help. You got to help somebody, you needed help.
Oh yeah. Yeah, never be afraid to pull over and help somebody on the road is what that taught me on that whole trip too. Because I never would have had the randomness of like that guy from Italy, the guy from California helping us, you know, all the random stuff with Dave, that couple that, you know, that didn't know me from Adam, just let me borrow their truck and trailer there in New Mexico. You know, it was a bunch of blessings and a bunch of curses all in the same trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have to do any maintenance as far as, doing that kind of mileage on the bike?
The good thing about before I did that trip, you know, I'd had it built, you know, I rebuilt it the year before, and I rode it quite a bit before I decided, that I was going to do it. So my bike maintenance was really minimal, other than like a couple of stops. I remember in California, I topped off the oil a little bit because I was running just a little bit on oil. And then whenever I was on my return ride back from the PCH, that next day that I was at Laidlaw's, well, a couple of my fairing bolts had went loose.
Yeah.
So I rebolted it. Other than that, topped off oil again in the middle of Texas, and that was it. Now, like and knock on wood, I'll probably never have one that was that dialed in ever again because it was dialed for that kind of trip.
Right.
You know?
So you sound like you were really prepared for the trip. What would you say the top 5 best things to bring on a trip like that are? If you were in motorcycle, what would you not leave home without?
Top 5 best thing to leave on that trip is you need air compressor, tire plugs. You need just a basic set of tools. Like if your bike is any kind of Japanese or European, bring all metric. That bike was Harley, so everything was standard. So I had a standard set of wrenches, I had a small set of standard sockets, and then I had Torx bits too because some of the stuff on it was Torx.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of look your bike over and kind of build you just a mini toolkit, you know, that'll just at least get you off the side of the road enough to where you could get to a shop. But that's my biggest thing is, you know, just get like your basic stuff. Like I wouldn't say if your bike's got a tube or something like that, yeah, carry tubes. But like other than that, you know, just a basic set of like really tools of like what's specific to the basic bolt sizes or what your bike is to. That's what I would do. And then if you're planning on camping, make sure your sleep pad's good. Because I made the bad mistake of the, you know, the one night that I actually did camp because I planned on camping way more. The one night that I did camp, my sleeping pad went flat like that night, dead middle of the night.
Yeah.
So I'm sleeping on like rock hard. Just it was basic red rock in Utah.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there like just
You didn't
trying
have
to
a single cab truck to crawl into.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the story of my camping trip, all of my camping trips. That
Yeah.
ended up flat on the ground.
Yeah, the only blessing that I had out of that whole deal was I balled up my riding jacket and made it a pillow. That was it. You know.
I can't imagine a long day of riding, especially depending on which day it was.
Yeah, it was a day that my Harley beached, so it was my bad day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine going through all that. If you go to finally lay down for a nice, comfortable, go to sleep, get some shut eye, and then just flat on the ground.
Yeah.
You didn't have like frog togs or any like water gear?
I did.
Did you?
I did. I
Okay.
had frog togs. I can tell you right now, they're not worth having.
Really?
Yeah, because mine disintegrated from Fort Smith, Oklahoma City.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just basic rain gear that you would find at like Walmart.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, for like sitting still and all that, yeah, that stuff is great.
Yeah.
But man, 70 miles an hour, 80 miles
Just
an hour
saturated.
interstate. Well, it's saturated, and then it gets to a point like if it starts getting a little bit of a hole, dude, it looked like mine got shot with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Because it looked like it was ate completely out. So at that point, the riding gear, as far as the winter, not riding winter, rain gear wasn't really doing anything.
Yeah.
At that point, so I stripped it all off, and even through that monsoon in Vegas and all that, I just got wet, you know,
Right.
and just let myself dry out whenever I got to a drier area. I think, you know, there's some people that will go full on in on nice like riding rain gear and
Yeah.
all
There's
that
some
stuff.
high dollar stuff you can get.
But if you can tough it out, and if it's the right time of the year, that'd be the biggest thing. That was in the dead middle of August, so
Oh, yeah,
getting a little
heat's
wet didn't really
terrible. Yeah.
bother me.
Right.
So if it was in the winter, yeah, it probably would have bothered me. But
It probably would have felt like a sauna with that on then.
oh yeah, and after a while you just dry out because especially you're in the wind the whole time,
Right.
so it doesn't take long to dry out. So I think if you can mentally tough it out, you'll be okay.
Did you ever have like, you know, I don't know, my dad's bike he's got a Ultra Classic and he's got a cup holder on his. But, you know, I've rode as far as dual sport stuff goes with like a Camelback on. Did you do anything like that?
Nope. I didn't do a thing like that. I was every time that I would stop for gas, I get a Gatorade or something.
Yeah.
And I would funnel a little bit of it, and I keep the rest of it in my saddlebag. And by the time I would need gas, because I'd make a gas stop about 120 miles. It would
Gotcha.
be about my point where I would mentally and physically be kind of wore out.
Uh-huh.
Plus the bike needed gas at that point.
Yeah.
So I would stop about that point and then just, you know, buy me another Gatorade, finish off the one that I had, then start on that next one, then keep on going, or water or something. That's the biggest thing is.
Did you do any research as far as this trip? Like, was there anyone that you'd watched on YouTube or maybe not even for this journey, like as far as that did the same route or anything? But, you know, I know there's some riders that their career is to do riding YouTube
Oh, yeah.
videos, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you take any hints or anything
I
from
did.
anybody?
There's one specifically. It's he's got a YouTube channel out of Tampa, Florida. I think his tag is Shade Tree Surgeon, and he's got like the most junker bikes that you would ever think that you would never make anywhere.
Yeah.
This dude's like one of them types that he'll go to say like, you know, Salt Lake City, Utah, buys $1,000 Gold Wing, is going to ride it all the way back to Tampa.
Yeah.
Like never ridden it before in his life.
Yeah.
You know, does that kind of stuff. And I pick like little keys off of his stuff that he does. And then there's a female that does it called On Two Wheels, but she's just riding like normal, nice, you know, like
Yeah.
new Harleys and all that. And I'm trying to think.
I like
And-
watching Itchy Boots.
Yeah,
that girl.
Itchy Boots is good too.
Yeah. But she goes all over the world and like countries. I'm like, this can't be safe.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she'll be the only woman you see,
Yeah.
you know, in the whole video because
Yeah.
it's just men everywhere and the women are hidden.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And then
But-
there's been like random little bitty like videos of like stuff from like the Trans-America Trail that give me like
Yeah.
little bitty stuff that we used to watch.
Right.
What's that guy? Everride?
Yeah. Because you're going to learn a lot from, I think, from the dual sport guys because they are trying to carry as much as they can, but also have to consider weights because they're not powerful bikes.
Yeah.
And if you're off road, you want to stay light too. So there's a lot to learn from the dual sport community as far as traveling goes.
Oh yeah, 100%. I was a member, and I think I still am a member of. There's a forum online. I think it's ADV Rider or something like that too. And those dudes, they're still going, but it's not as big as like what it used to be. But like from basically like the 2017 era all the way up to like my trip, I would just like look at little bitty random threads of people's worldwide trips and stuff, and just get keys off of that too.
Yeah.
Because forums, even though they're really dead, I mean, honestly, there's still a ton of good information that's been there for years that you just can go back to and look at and all that too.
It's gonna be a sad day when those all get wiped.
I know, because looking at Facebook stuff lately with building my truck, I try to look for answers, or you see other people post questions, and I'm like, just look in the search section first or Google it. Yeah. It's all the same questions, and no one's really getting good answers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish people would research, but.
And the other thing that I got to give people advice on, as far as if they want to make a trip like that, is there's nothing, absolutely nothing you can do to mentally prepare for it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can sit there and make those little bit of 500-mile rides and all that kind of stuff here and there, but until you just jump off that cliff, there's nothing that can prepare you for that, because the first like couple days really did suck. I didn't think that I was going to make it, you know. And then it's just you hit that point where you hit like a second wind, and then it's nothing to ride 500 or 600 miles a day, and it's just it feels okay.
Yeah.
And you finally figure out that, hey, as long as I
figure out your routine, where you need to stop.
Yep.
Everybody's gonna be a little bit different, but you saying like 120 miles, that's where you found was comfortable for you.
And I'm sure if I had a bigger bike with better wind protection and all that kind of stuff, I could have pushed it that much more. But honestly, at that point on just that particular bike, if I went further than that, it was getting dangerous. Because you can lose balance and all that kind of stuff that you don't coherently think that you're doing up until you slow down, because your body's physically tired and you're not feeling it until you actually like start moving your feet off the pegs and starting to lay down and all that stuff.
Yeah. I think that's good advice just for life in general, though. Like, you can do all this research on this thing you want to do to your truck. You can do all this research on this like career path you want to take, but until you just jump out and do it, you're not going to get anywhere. Or you just eventually you can't know what's going to happen until you just jump and do it.
Yeah,
that's it. Until you put yourself out there, you don't know what you can do. And don't be afraid of the unknown, because me and David planned that trip to where it was going to be me and him the whole time, and then you look back on it, 90% of it I was by myself.
Right, that's what I was thinking. It's like both of y'all are like, anything could have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could talk to him on the same exact trip, and he's going to have completely different stories of what I've got.
Right.
Just because, heck, half the ride he was by himself too.
Yeah, I think sometimes like people question why people do trips like that and stuff, but sometimes I think you just need to know that you could just like, because you didn't know before you started if you could do it. Sometimes you just need that, like in life, you just need to know you did something that you didn't know you could.
Yeah, and then on top of that, another thing that it done for me is I found a whole nother level of, I would say, clarity, honestly, because being gone that long by yourself, just in your own mind and in your own thoughts, you get to thinking about stuff and all that you just, it's a whole different level, like mental relaxation and all that you don't get, because, I work for a power company. It's, it's all the time something demanding here and there. Now, I'm vice president of a school board. I'm a dad, I've got a family. I'm all the time getting pulled in 15 different directions, and to be by myself, like literally by myself, is a very, very rare occasion.
And not just by yourself, but having a goal that you have to stay on track.
Yeah,
I completely agree. I didn't even think about that, but that's another good point of it too.
You can't drift back to like all the worries that you have going back home. You got to stay on the trail.
Yeah, because you're mentally focused on where you're going. You're not worried about anything else.
And like I said, you have to do it. You can't get halfway there and be like, I'm going to turn around and go back.
Yeah, because then you wouldn't have the stories that I've got off of all this.
Right. Well, yeah, and you'd probably feel like a failure for,
Exactly. You beat yourself up about it.
Yeah. And who knows if you'd get that opportunity again.
Yeah.
So now you had the motorcycle story. You went towards the more comfortable route of going to overlanding.
Oh, 100%.
But then I hear you got the tent, you got all the gear and everything.
You could have went for a comfortable overlanding trip, but I hear you were white knuckling it around some turns and had some stories there.
Oh, 100%. The Tacoma behind me, I built over a little bit, and I guess it was right at, I bought it in like it was December of 23, and then by I think it was August of 24, it was almost a year after I come back from California on that bike, I decided that, heck, I changed the suspension and everything out. Me and a buddy of mine hand built the bumper that's sitting behind me. I put a 12,000 pound mile marker on it. We put the tent and all that on it. And anyways, decided, heck, I got a bunch of extra vacation time right around August. Let's make another trip of this.
Yeah.
So me, my wife, and my 2 boys loaded up, and we decided that we're going to ride to Colorado and ride the San Juan. So we started out and we did Ophir Pass the first day, which is a good it's like 12,000 foot some change up mountain roads and all that. And it's, solid mountain on one side, 1,000 foot drop on your other side. And the next day was the real one. It was Imogene Pass, and that goes from trying to think, it's Telluride all the way to Ouray, and it's all back mountain road. And you're talking like some of the angles and stuff that you're dropping off of, and I'm with my wife and my kids, and they're freaking out the whole time. Tacoma's sitting like this, and some of the downhill climbs, some of the uphill climbs, we're scraping back bumper going up a rock face like that.
Please have traction and please have brakes.
Yes, that's it. You're sitting there white knuckling it the whole time, and like my youngest son is completely like freaked out on the first day, to where he's like, I think at that age he was like first or second grade, and he's sitting there saying, why is Dad even taking us on this field trip? Why could I just stayed at home? But after all that, man, they really enjoyed it, like after the second day of getting used to like the different kind of rough terrain and all that. But it was dang sure a cool experience, for sure. I went all around the San Juans and Silverton. Then we also bumped over to Utah, and we went to Moab one day. Didn't do really much there, but we ended up making a big long loop back here to South Arkansas and all that. And that was a cool trip.
Yeah, I didn't realize you brought the whole family.
Oh yeah.
So while you were, in all these sketchy situations, were you acting calm, like you had it all together? Or?
Yeah. I'm sitting here putting on the biggest poker face I've ever had in my life, and I'm sitting here, and there's certain points I'm sitting here thinking, dude, I don't even know if we're gonna make it. And it's like, here this is about to be a news article. Dad takes whole family from Arkansas to Colorado and kills them off the side of the mountain.
Yeah.
You were just really testing who has the most faith of you.
Yeah.
In you.
Man, my wife was a stone cold killer on all that, because she never really like second guessed me on hardly anything, but just like a couple of times. And like my boys were like ready to get out of the truck almost every day.
Yeah.
I mean, they were not prepared for it at all.
Yeah.
But the coolest thing about like the whole deal for like them is, even in the dead middle of August, like you get up to 14,000 foot, there's still snow on the ground. So they're up there having a snowball fight in the middle of August. They couldn't believe it. Yeah.
And you can go back and like look at our channel, and you'll see build updates of this truck, because all the modifications that you did. You want to run through some of that stuff that you did to the truck?
Yeah. So the thing I was about to say,
prepared you for this trip?
What prepared me for this is I'd bought this truck from a little dealership in DeRidder. It didn't have like 50,000 miles on it. It's a 2012, and that's like only 2 years ago.
That's grandpa stuff.
Yeah, it's very grandpa mileage. So I knew the drivetrain was going to be solid. So I went ahead and I did Bilstein B8 control arms. I did Bilstein 6112s on the front, which is a 2.5-inch valve body shock on the front, with an overload spring on the front, because we added 400 pounds worth of weight with the True North Fab bumper. And it was don't get me wrong, it looks like like a factory built bumper, but me and a buddy of mine did that out of a plate kit.
Yeah.
So we hand built that.
Kind of like the Move. Move is the big brand that does it, but this looks thicker than some of their stuff.
Yeah, it's a little bit better quality and all that. And I've researched that. They're a Toyota Trucks of Arkansas group is what turned me on to this company. Did that with a 12,000 pound mile marker winch. And on the rear, I've got a body armor back bumper. I've got trying to think, can't remember the name of the company out of the bed rack, but the bed rack is from a company out of Colorado. And it's RCI Fabrications bed rack. I got a deck system in the bed with a full pull-out drawer and all that, with all my different tools, towing equipment, and all that in it.
That's the first thing you did, wasn't it?
Yeah, the deck system was the very first thing. And then a top oak tent, and that tent, honestly, for just 2 people and all that, it's about perfect. You know? you've got all the room in the world, and you feel like you're sleeping actually in a queen size bed. I'm trying to think as far as other modifications that I've done. I did have to change U joints all the way across the drive shaft because one of them had a little bit of swap, so I went ahead and I did all of them. But also, since even that trip come back, I've got I'm probably the only overlander I know that's got a killer sound system in their truck.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Like, don't leave that out, because you can, like my driveways, it's just over 8th mile, and yeah, Yuli called me and said Dustin's coming down the driveway. I was like, I know, I'm already at the house, like I'm outside when we'd pulled up, but she could hear you pulling in.
Yeah, because I pulled the door panels out, I pulled all the interior out of the truck, I sound deadened the whole cab with kill mat, and then I did 3 Alpine 10-inch subwoofers behind the back seat. I've got Alpine high, I think they're Type S crossovers in each door, and it's a 6x9, and the back doors, no, actually it's a 6.5 for the back door with a built-in crossover and a built-in tweeter. The front doors have got a 6x9 with a super tweet in the top of the door panels, and all of it. If you popped open the door of my truck right now, it all looks like a factory setup. It doesn't look like anything's changed. I still left the JBL plates on the factory door panels and everything, so you're just sitting there thinking it's a JBL Toyota.
But it bangs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It slams. It's got a down for sound. I think it's a Mini Max 1500 watt amp on the subwoofers, and then it's a 400 watt 4-channel on the highs. So it's got basically the highs have got 3 different sets of crossover built-in chips, so you get absolutely no bass in the highs at all. It's just all high and mid, and then all the bass is just straight to the subwoofers. It's about as clear as you can get it.
Yeah. Oh.
Everything's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good point to wrap it up. I like that we started with y'all back in the day, wanting to show out, got a single cab, all about how cool we can look, and now we've escalated to we're just worried about getting away from everybody, with your family and your kids, and just going on adventures. So I like that it's, just the way life goes, where you get away from all the things of your ego and you just want to grow more.
Man, that's it.
I love the progress you made with it, and I'm glad we got to share the stories with it, and we hope you enjoyed as well. And hopefully have an adventure.
Yep, that's it. Have a good time of life, and Daryl.
Yep.
Yeah. And make sure to like and subscribe, because hopefully we're going to keep doing more of these. So check us out in the next one.